based off of salaries. The fiscal year that we actually budgeted just for retirement, for that fiscal year was $162,222.24 was what we had on the budget line for that fiscal year for each, the total of all departments to fund our retirement. So it's my recommendation that if we do put in another option for the employees, if they do away with Social Security, the 3.6 multiplier, that it would be a allocated 6.2 that the city already has budgeted would be moved to the funding of the retirement in addition to the budgeted amount. And then the employee would at this point start an employee contribution, which we do not currently have right now, that is equivalent to what the 6.2% of their paycheck would be, and that would help fund. So the total funding, if you were to do that, when you take in what we've already currently budgeted for that fiscal year, plus what we've paid into Social Security, the estimated total cost that could be applied to retirement for one fiscal year is $463,047.30. If you go back and you look at the estimated cost sheet that we would only have to pay for 20 years, the pricing that they have on that, go back, it's on that sheet. Our total cost is the $284,282 per year, plus $101,282 if we chose to reduce the retirement age from 65 to 60. So therefore, you're looking at approximately a $305,000, which definitely would be covered with those Social Security contributions helping fund the retirement. And that dollar amount would strictly be only for the 20 years, and then it would be reduced back down to the normal, whatever the actuary is based off the salaries at that point, which right now currently is running at $84,000. The actuaries that they do, or cost studies that they do, are always a year behind, 2 years behind, because we have to give them the salaries as of, I just submitted the salaries as of 2023. So next year in 2025, I'll be submitting salaries as of 2024. They do a calendar year, not a fiscal year. So once again, what I just submitted for 2023 was actually only half of a year that included the 10% and 20% that we did that year, didn't include the full year. Next year will include the full year of that salary bump that we had 2 years ago. Is that illusion?
Totally.
I'm coming by your office with a notepad.
The main thing that I was trying to show you is I wanted to be able to give the employees an actual option. That if they decide to vote to do away with Social Security, because we all know Social Security is on shaky grounds right now.
Yeah.
They're talking about increasing the retirement age up to 70. So a lot of our new employees that are starting in the police department, they're 22 years old. So by the time 4 years pass, there may not even be Social Security for them to draw. And this is a good way, I think, that we can fund our retirement to give them a substantial retirement. We can secure them for 25 years because they're going to stay with us for 25 years. Because at 25 years at 3.6, if they wait till retirement age, they're going to draw 90% of their salary. They're not going to get that off of Social Security.
No.
They're going to get that off of us. And it's going to be a benefit because we're locking in those employees for 25 years so they can work towards that goal. If I had the opportunity that if I could learn now what I know now and go back into my 20s, I would definitely do retirement totally different than I ever did. But back when you're a kid, you don't think about that stuff. But this is our opportunity to educate all of our employees too about retirement. And I think this is a great way not only to add to our retention policies, it is something that is above and beyond any municipality around us. It's above and way above and beyond any police department that's, they just sent out, I don't know who I'll get the email from GMA about the article about Rockmart, about their retention and how they redid that and stuff, to keep their employees and everything. This is a huge, huge selling point. Because like I said, this is something that they're building towards their future, and we want them to build towards their future with us. And I just think that by giving these employees an opportunity, because we have to have the vote, no matter what. But if they vote to say, yeah, we'd rather not pay that 6.2% out to Social Security, we'd rather help fund our own retirement, because they know in 25 years they could retire and get a decent amount of retirement benefit, The other factor you have to remember is if anybody did go out on early retirement, whether it's at the age of 50 or 55, currently it's at 55 right now with 10 years of service, that total amount, so if they were able to draw, say, $2,400 a month, okay, just say $2,400, at the age of retirement at 65, that $2,400 is reduced by 10 years down to the age of 55. So you're forcing an officer to work till 65 just to have a decent retirement. On top of that, if they choose to do the beneficiary, that is reduced even almost 20%, I think it's 20-something% to allow upon their death for that funding to keep their retirement to keep going to their survivor. So that $2,400 is down to $1,000, which goes down to $800. And when you look at what we currently, our retirees are making that we currently have, we don't have anyone that's bringing in over $1,000 a month, and that's before taxes.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing, our retirement is also going to be taxed afterwards. So when you receive a retirement, we have to pay taxes on it. So we're paying into the Social Security already. And I personally, I don't have long to, my retirement age is already here and gone, but I wouldn't benefit any from this because of my years of service. But the thing of it is when you look at your retirement and you look at if somebody wanted to retire early, and they wanted to leave survivor, they're still reducing. And so what our currently multiplier is at the 1.5, even going to the 2.5, and they pay into Social Security, it's a win-win for us if we allow our employees to have the opportunity to choose, which they're going to have to choose anyway, whether or not to continue with Social Security or do without Social Security, but to give them that option that, if they vote to do away with Social Security, they're still securing themselves in the future.
Do you think it's also a benefit to attract new employees?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Chief, if you had it as an offering, to tell them that we had a 3.6 multiplier and a 25-year cap. I honestly do.
Okay.
So how's that affecting our budget as far as the city retirement?
The thing of it is we already have the Social Security budgeted.
And how's it affecting? Everything's going to affect it. We have the budget for this year, but
Your salaries are always going to be there, whether we pay Social Security or we put it in our account to pay into the retirement. And that's all we're basically doing. Instead of me sending a check to, when I pay Social Security, when I do our taxes, we'll just be paying the 1.45 Medicare and not the Social Security percentage. So that money would automatically stay in the general fund and be allocated by finance to go into the retirement.
I wanted to add that when we had like a Zoom with the actuary,
Yes,
what they're
actuary.
called, and then the GMA representative, that kind of towards the end of the conversations, yes, we see these numbers, we see this letter, tell us if this is fiscally sound or not. Because it sounds great, looks great. And the actuary explained those numbers, as long as those payments are made, it's sound. And like Kathy's saying, those payments are either going to be made to Social Security or they're going to be made to GMA. And I think it's a great buy-in for employees to be contributing to their retirement. I'm happy to do it. And honestly, we don't have to feel an impact. And it sounds and looks like the city's not going to feel an impact as far as money-wise because that 6.2 is just going to be diverted, just like our 6.2 is going to be diverted.
And on the Q&A that I submitted also, a lot of the questions that we asked was, what if somebody doesn't get fully vested in 5 years, what happens? Well, the employee portion of that they would be contributing is automatically paid out just like we pay our flexible spending accounts and stuff. It's automatically paid to GMA, and they take that portion and they hold it. The city's portion is put into our account and is only paid every month when we're billed. But if an employee leaves before their 5 years, they'll be fully refunded all their contributions. GMA will 100% refund them their contributions. But at that point, their time in service goes all the way back to zero. Now, if we rehire them, they can turn around, and GMA has a program that they can pay with interest to get their retirement back up to where it needs to be. So they can do that, but GMA handles all of that on the employee side for us.
Okay, so you have an employee who is not vested. They leave. they get their portion of the money
GMA will
back,
fund-
okay.
fund it.
But they go to a new job, they have that 4.5, 4.5 years that they have not paid into Social Security if that company is
They
not.
would- They would start their social
That
security.
all
right
over.
Or anything that, like, if this was to start January 1st, everything our current employees that paid into Social Security is still recorded as Social Security.
Right.
So if they left and went somewhere else, the Social Security would start at that time.
Okay.
It's almost like a mom stopping to sit at home for 5 years with their kids, and then they go back to their
Right.
career. They have that break of Social Security when you're looking at those years of service and the dollar
Okay.
amount you get on your statement. There would be that break on that employee, and then it would start back up.
Okay.
And that's a big decision that employee would have to make.
Correct.
You know, if they decide if this goes that route, if they decide to work here.
Okay.
I mean, it's ultimately going to come down to the vote. of the
When are you going to
employees.
take it?
Well, I've already contacted the attorney that handles it for GMA. We have to get she's getting back in touch with me, letting me know what dates are available for her to get all the information that I need to do. Because I believe, Jason may be able to help with this process, from what I understand from her is that our let us say,
Our election superintendent.
elections would help put on the elections. So we can only do education, but we can't weigh them on their vote or anything. The elections will come in and actually hold the employee election. Then that information is given back to the attorney that she writes up the paperwork. It's then submitted to the governor's desk for him to sign, and then it's forwarded to the Social Security Administration of our decision. Once that referendum is in place, 30, 40, 50 years from now, whatever they decide to do at that point, like whether it's to change the retirement or increase it even more or make any changes, there'll be already a referendum in place, whether it's continuing with Social Security or not to continue with Social Security.
How much is our elections going to charge us? We don't know? Okay.
Yeah. The minimum cost, I mean, the attorney said for pretty much all her stuff, it's only going to cost us about a couple $1,000 to do it and get it all done.
For her, but I'm talking about the elections.
Elections is whatever they would charge us to come out. I don't even know if they actually have to be on site. I just think they may have to record it or something
Okay.
legally, so that, I don't know. That's what I'm gonna find out when the attorney gets to it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know that they've ever conducted an election at this stage. I imagine the cost would be minimal, but, there's not a lot of voters.
Right.
How confident are we that this actuary is going to be around in 30 years?
I'm sorry.
How confident or what safeguards do we have that this actuary will be solvent in 25 or 30 years?
Well, as long as you continue to be a city, you're gonna have employees. So,
Understood, but there are pension funds around the country that are dying off.
well, and that's what the actuary that we talked with that does for the GMA, he says, as long as you stay above a certain percent, which you will, he says you're gonna be in good shape. I mean, we currently are at.
What if, what's if
You look
GMA
at our
goes away?
funding scores right now, our funded ratio on market values, we're at 98.23, and the funded ratio on actual value of assets is 102.32. That's where we currently are. If you go over and you look at our retirement at the bottom of the sheet, they've got us not dropping anything less than from the 98.23 to 61, 64, and 64.20. So we're still way above over 50%.
I'm not talking about what we are doing, because we're going to continue doing what we're doing. How solid is that money sitting in that pot over here?
Well, we're controlling our money. The only money that's being controlled by GMA is the employee deductions of that is being paid every payroll to GMA. They hold those funds allocated in for the city of Hiram, employee contributions. So retirement, when you have, like right now, we have 0 employee contributions. So every month we get that GMA invoice, accounts payable pays it, and it comes out of our general fund, out of the amount that's budgeted. The only thing that GMA is going to be holding on is every payroll, I will process an EFT payment to them directly for the 6.2% of the employee portion of that payroll, which they will put into a fund for us, just like they do now currently. Like, so we'll have 2 funds. One is our actual retirement, and then one's the employee contribution. So when that employee retires or leaves the spot, sorry, before 5 years, they'll be able to refund it out of that funding. And then that amount also helps cover that total amount that's due to them each month. that's built into this estimate here, not our actual increase.
And I would pose the question too, I guess, I mean, it's an employee decision of how solvent is Social Security. I know I don't have confidence in it, so again, it's a huge employee decision. You know, as far as the money, you're gonna, again, you, me, we're gonna pay to Social Security that 6.2%, or we're gonna pay it to GMA. It's, you know, it's that handshake, and it's, again, it's an employee decision on the Social Security part.
Okay. Kathy, you may have mentioned it and went this far over my head. What is the catch-up going to cost us?
That is the amount that's listed there on the payments where it shows,
It's on page,
so the 284, 682 is the dollar amount recommended contribution plus cost of benefit improvement. That is what's divided over the 20 years.
So,
That's including what we currently pay now with the 84,
mhm.
plus the 200,000 in addition. So what we would be paying for 20 years, the total would be 284 and then divided by 20 years. So you're only,
So what are we going to have to pay for the next 20 years? Yearly?
well, let me get my computer. And I will give you an amount. Because I had it broken from 2.5 and up to 3.6. So if you're looking at the 284, 682, divided by 20 years, that's 14,234.10.
On top of what we draw, just like Social Security is drawn at a certain rate, we're going to have to take that certain rate that we put in, the 6.25%, plus another $14,000 yearly to catch up.
No, this is strictly just the costs of what it's going to cost us to do a 3.6 multiplier, and they take that difference and they divide it out over 20 years.
That's what I'm saying, but where does that $14,000 come from?
Well, if you're going to have the employee contributions and the employee, what we've already currently paid.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is if you've got the two contributions, the city's contribution
What we already have currently budgeted.
and what you currently have budgeted, and budgeted is basically paying into Social Security.
no.
No. We currently carry on our budget line, a retirement budget line per department, which totals,
162, 222,
thank you, I
24,
should have
for
stayed
23,
together.
24.
So you're going to add $14,000 a year to that.
Potentially. That-
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at.
That's what I'm saying, this sheet here gives you a breakdown for a year of what we would have as money allocated to retirement. We currently already have, for this fiscal year, I usually choose the fiscal year 23, 24, because that's what I just did the cost study off of. We have budgeted for all departments, $162,222.24 for the year, okay? We currently are only paying $84,560 a year. So we're already carrying a nice budget, so we can keep, we're satisfying our needs. That's why we're at the current 102.32%. We have currently over $1.6 million in our retirement fund already that we've paid into. But, because based on our number of retirees. Then on top of that, when you add the Social Security employer portion and then.
I don't want to talk about Social Security. I want to know, we're budgeted, we've paid $84,000
Out of the $162,000 we budgeted a year,
a budget year, but we're going to add $14,000 to it to do the catch-up.
which still falls within what we are,
You'll be about $100,000.
which we currently still, like I said, have.
Which is still 62,000 under the budget
Yeah.
that y'all typically adopt.
It's just the,
So how did we budget twice the amount?
because it's based off of estimated employees.
And we added how many employees?
Well,
But
8.
we're still not fully
Yeah.
staffed.
Well, but I'm saying,
1, 2.
I don't know how the actual number, I just went back on the fiscal budget
The
year.
budget for that number is created by what number of positions we have available, those that are filled and those
And
that are
not
vacant,
filled.
assuming that they would be filled. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen, so you end up with buffers. So it ended up being a sizable buffer because we had to calculate the idea of 2.5 going into this year, and it was a,
But we never did the 2.5, so that's why we had that increase, like, in that fiscal year 2.3, or 23, 24, but we didn't actually do the 2.5 multiplier, we were still paying the 1.5 multiplier.
right.
So that's why, looking at this year, we've already had that buffer built in there to help fund.
But are we gonna be able to continue that for 20 years, having that buffer?
I would say yes,
As
because,
long as the economy stays the way it is, I doubt it.
well, then, I mean, you're still gonna have employees. You're gonna still have to pay that 6.2%, the employee's still gonna have to pay that 6.2%. And if you do away with that budget, you're not gonna have retirement anyway, you're not gonna have employees because they're gonna quit. So you either continue that budget line to continue.
I'm not saying do away the budget line, I'm just saying,
Well, you say that we don't think that we'd be able to continue this budget item if the way the economy's going. And what I'm saying is, if you do away with that line item that you already are currently living off of to supply your retirement the way it stands, that doesn't have a factor on the economy unless you're saying it will and it will reduce that amount. And then at that point, you can't even fund your 1.5 based on the number of employees because our number of employees are increasing.
I have more argument for that, but that's for a different time.
I guess I don't understand what you're asking about the budget.
We are looking at a future in which we're gonna have very, very, very tight budgets
Correct.
coming up. And we're balancing our budget by drawing money from reserve funds. How long can we keep that up?